What if one ordinary wheat penny in this video is hiding the kind of detail collectors would fight to own? Before you spend another old cent, stay with me, because one tiny clue could change everything. Most people would never stop for a 1948 wheat penny. They would see an old penny, maybe smile for 1 second, and then toss it back into a jar, a drawer, or even spend it without a second thought. And that is exactly why this coin matters. Because some of the most dangerous coins are not the ones that look rare. They are the ones that look old, ordinary, and harmless. This is the first coin in our video, and it opens with a penny that almost nobody fears, but serious collectors still pay close attention to. The 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny does not scream for attention. It does not look like a $1 million legend. It does not come with instant drama. But if you know what to look for, this quiet little cent can become a completely different story. On the front, you have Abraham Lincoln facing right, with "I in God we trust" above him, liberty to the left, and the date 1948 on the right. On the back, you get the classic wheat ears design that made these pennies famous in the first place. At first glance, it feels simple. But that simplicity is what makes people careless. And in coin collecting, carelessness is expensive. Now let's get one thing straight right away. A normal 1948 wheat penny is not automatically worth $87,400 or $143,000 just because it is old. That kind of money would only make sense if the coin had something truly extraordinary going on: a major error, an unusual planchet situation, an extreme high-end grade, or another rare feature that pushes it far outside the ordinary category. That is the part most people miss. They hear one big auction number and suddenly think every 1948 penny is a hidden jackpot. That is not how it works. What matters is whether your coin gives you a reason to stop and investigate. So start with the date. Look closely at the 1948. Not casually, really look at it. Check whether the numbers seem thick, doubled, oddly shaped, or separated in a strange way. Sometimes one tiny detail in the date is enough to tell you that the coin deserves a second look. Then move to the letters. Check Liberty. Check "I in God we trust." Look for anything that feels wrong. Uneven impressions, odd spacing, raised extra metal, or signs that the design did not strike the way it should have. Now look at Lincoln himself. This is where a lot of people get fooled. A damaged coin can look dramatic. A worn coin can look strange. A scratched coin can trick beginners into thinking they found a mint error. So you need to slow down and ask the right question. Does this look like something that happened at the mint, or something that happened after the coin left it? That difference changes everything. Look at the cheek, the jawline, the coat, the hair, and the open fields around the portrait. If you see raised lines, strange bumps, or odd texture that looks part of the strike, that is when the coin starts becoming interesting. Then turn it over. Now check the reverse like a collector, not like someone counting change. Look at 1 cent. Look at United States of America. Look at the wheat ears. Do the lines look normal? Do certain areas look unusually weak? Does part of the design feel sharper than the rest in a suspicious way? Because when one zone of the coin behaves differently from the rest, that is when the real questions begin. And now comes one of the smartest things you can do with any wheat penny. Weigh it. This is where a lot of hidden stories begin. A normal 1948 wheat penny should be around the standard bronze weight for that era. If your coin weighs more or less than it should, do not ignore that. A weight difference can point to metal loss, damage, or something much more unusual, and sometimes that is where a quiet coin suddenly becomes a serious coin. So if you think you have a promising 1948 cent, do not just stare at it. Compare it. Weigh it. Check the details carefully. And here is another mistake people make all the time. They clean the coin. Do not do that. Do not rub it. Do not polish it. Do not try to improve it. A cleaned coin can lose the exact surfaces and evidence that made it worth checking in the first place. If your 1948 wheat penny looks unusual, hold it by the edge, take clear photos, record the weight, and keep it safe. Because the whole lesson of this first coin is simple. The penny most people ignore is often the penny that teaches the biggest lesson. And once you realize that an ordinary-looking 1948 wheat penny can still hide a much bigger story, you stop looking at old cents the same way ever again. And trust me, the second coin in this video gets even more dangerous, because that one hides its most important clue in a place many people never think to check at all. This old penny could be the one people regret spending. The 1940 wheat penny is dangerous in a completely different way from the first coin. The 1948 cent felt quiet. This one feels older, deeper, and more deceptive. Because when people see a 1940 wheat penny, they instantly think one of two things. Either it is just an old coin with sentimental value, or it must automatically be worth huge money because of the date. And both reactions can be wrong. That is exactly why this penny belongs in the second spot of the video. It is the kind of coin that invites assumptions. And in coin collecting, assumptions are expensive. On the front, you see Abraham Lincoln facing right, with "I in God we trust" above, liberty on the left, and the date 1940 on the right. On the back, you get the classic wheat ears design with 1 cent and United States of America, the same reverse that made these coins famous with generations of collectors. The 1940 Philadelphia issue was struck in bronze, weighs 3.11 grams, has a plain edge, and a diameter of about 19 millimeters. Now here is where the real story begins. A normal 1940 wheat penny is not automatically worth $113,290 to $188,000 plus. Those kinds of numbers would only make sense for something far beyond an ordinary example, a spectacular mint error, an extreme condition rarity, or another highly unusual authenticated piece. Public market references for regular 1940 cents are far lower, and third-party value guides typically place even strong examples well below those six-figure claims unless something truly extraordinary is involved. That does not make the coin boring. It makes it more dangerous. Because once a coin already has age, collector appeal, and a strong wheat penny identity, all it takes is one serious abnormality to completely change the conversation. So do not start this coin with excitement. Start it with suspicion. Look at the date first. Not just 1940 and move on. Really study it. Watch the 9, the 4, and the final 0. Do the numbers look thick? Do they seem doubled? Do they show odd notching or a second outline that appears raised from the coin? Some references on 1940 cents note doubled die and repunched mint-mark possibilities for the year, especially on certain mint-marked coins. And those are exactly the kinds of clues that tell you not to dismiss the coin too quickly. Then move to the words "I in God we trust" and "liberty." This is where a hidden clue can get overlooked fast. Look for letters that seem split, thickened, oddly shaped, or uneven in a way that looks part of the strike itself. Real doubling should usually appear raised and integrated into the design. Flat shelf-like spread is often machine doubling or another effect collectors care far less about. Now check Lincoln's portrait. This is where beginners often get fooled. A damaged coin can look dramatic. A scratched coin can look rare. A worn coin can create false hope. So slow down. Look at the hair, the forehead, the cheek, the jawline, the coat, and the open fields around the bust. If you see lines, cracks, lumps, or other unusual features, ask the right question. Did this happen at the mint? Or did it happen after years in circulation? That difference changes everything. A scratch cuts into the coin. A die crack rises above the surface. That one detail alone can save you from making a very expensive mistake in reverse. Ignoring something real because it looks too small, or chasing something fake because it looks too dramatic. Then turn the coin over. This is where the reverse starts telling its side of the story. Check 1 cent. Check United States of America. Check the wheat ears carefully. Do the lines in the wheat look normal and even? Does one side look weaker than the other? Do certain parts of the letters feel incomplete while nearby areas still look strong? A coin that behaves unevenly in specific places can be far more interesting than one that is simply worn all over. And now comes one of the smartest checks you can do with any wheat penny. Weigh it. A genuine 1940 wheat penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. If yours weighs more or less than standard, do not brush that aside. A weight difference can point to metal loss, damage, or something much more unusual, and sometimes that is where a coin stops being just an old wheat penny and becomes a real case worth investigating. But weight alone is never enough. You compare it with color, thickness, diameter, and the overall look of the coin. Color matters too. A dark brown coin tells one story. A stronger red-brown coin tells another. And a bright, original red coin can enter a very different class of collector attention. That is one of the reasons old wheat pennies still attract so much interest. The same date can live in completely different worlds depending on condition, originality, and whether something went wrong during minting. And here is the rule people keep breaking. Do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not polish it. Do not try to make it look better. Because the second you do that, you may destroy the exact surfaces and evidence that made the coin worth checking in the first place. If your 1940 wheat penny looks strange, hold it by the edge, photograph it clearly, record the weight, and compare it with a normal example. Because this coin teaches a different lesson from the first one. The 1948 cent warned you that an ordinary-looking penny can hide a bigger story. But the 1940 wheat penny warns you about something even worse. Sometimes the coin that looks obviously old is the one people stop investigating too soon. And that is exactly how an important detail gets missed. And trust me, the third coin in this video gets even more intense, because that one does not just hide behind age, it hides behind expectation. This 1956 penny could fool almost everyone. The 1956 wheat penny is the kind of coin that creates the worst kind of mistake in coin collecting. Not because it looks too rare, not because it looks too valuable, but because it looks just ordinary enough to make people relax. And that is exactly why it can be dangerous. This is the third and final coin in our 3-coin video, and it closes the set in the strongest way possible. The first coin warned us that an old penny can be ignored too easily. The second showed how age can trick people into making assumptions. But this one does something even more deceptive. It hides behind familiarity. Because the 1956 wheat penny is not a coin most people fear spending. On the front, you see Abraham Lincoln facing right, with "I in God we trust" above, liberty on the left, and the date 1956 on the right. On the back, you get the classic wheat ears design with 1 cent and United States of America. The regular Philadelphia issue was struck in 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc. Weighs 3.11 grams, measures 19.00 millimeters, and has a plain edge. PCGS lists the Philadelphia mintage at 420,745,000. Now here is where the story changes. A normal 1956 wheat penny is not automatically worth $67,000 to $104,000 plus. But this date is still far more interesting than many people think, because PCGS records an auction high of about $57,600 for a regular 1956 1CRD and MS67 plus RD. That tells you something important right away. Even without some wild fantasy error story, this date already has enough condition sensitivity to get serious collector attention at the top end. So if someone starts talking about much bigger numbers, the coin would need something even more unusual going for it. A major error, an extraordinary surface story, or another authenticated feature that pushes it beyond a normal example. That is what makes this final coin such a strong closer. Because this penny is not just about rarity. It is about false confidence. People see a 1956 cent and think they already know the ending. That is when they stop looking. So do not start with excitement. Start with discipline. Go straight to the date. Study the 1, the 9, the 5, and especially the 6. Look for notching, raised separation, odd thickness, or a doubled look that appears part of the original strike. There are known minor doubled dies for 1956 circulation strike cents. But even collectors on NGC's forum repeatedly point out that many coins people think are doubled actually show worthless strike or mechanical doubling instead. In other words, if the doubling looks flat and shelf-like, that is usually not the kind of discovery collectors chase. Then move to Liberty and "I in God we trust." This is where a hidden clue can get missed very fast. If letters look oddly thick, partially split, or uneven in a way that seems raised and built into the strike, that is when the coin starts becoming interesting. But if the effect looks pushed, smeared, or flat, slow down. The difference between true doubling and strike doubling changes everything. Now study Lincoln's portrait. Look at the hair, forehead, cheek, jawline, coat, and the fields around the bust. This is where a lot of false excitement begins. Old cents pick up marks, wear, discoloration, and little hits over time. A scratch can look dramatic. A stain can look suspicious. A weak strike can look like a rarity to someone who wants it badly enough. So ask the right question. Did this happen at the mint? Or did this happen later? A scratch cuts into the surface. A die crack rises above it. That difference matters more than most beginners realize. Then turn the coin over and let the reverse tell its side of the story. Check 1 cent. Check United States of America. Check the wheat ears. Do the grain lines look normal and even? Are some parts strangely weak while nearby details remain sharp? Does one section of the reverse look like it did not strike the same way as the rest? That kind of inconsistency can be more important than a coin that is simply worn all over. And now comes one of the smartest checks you can do with any wheat penny. Weigh it. A genuine 1956 wheat penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. That is the standard for bronze Lincoln cents of this era. If your coin weighs more or less than it should, do not ignore that. A weight difference can point to damage, metal loss, or something much more unusual. But weight alone is never the full story. You compare it with the color, diameter, thickness, and overall look of the coin. Color matters too. A brown coin tells one story. A red-brown coin tells another. And a bright original red coin tells a much stronger one. PCGS shows a huge difference between brown, and red auction performance for 1956 cents, with the biggest money on elite red pieces. That means preservation and originality matter enormously for this date. And here is the rule that ruins too many promising coins. Do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not polish it. Do not try to improve it. A clean coin can lose the exact surfaces that made it worth checking in the first place. So if your 1956 wheat penny looks unusual, hold it by the edge, photograph it clearly, record the weight, and compare it with a normal example. Because this final coin leaves you with the strongest lesson of all. Sometimes the coin that looks the safest to ignore is the one that punishes you the hardest for being too sure. Now go back and compare all 3 pennies from this video. Check the date, the lettering, the surface, the reverse details, and especially the weight. And before you spend another old wheat penny, ask yourself one question. What if the penny you almost ignored is the one collectors would never want to lose?